Okay, so let's learn about little known facts about narcissistic love bombing that you probably never knew before. Number one is it has nothing to do with love. In fact, while they start off maybe saying they love you, even maybe before you start dating, it actually has nothing to do with love. It has everything to do with manipulation. In fact, everything narcissists do has to do with manipulation. Everything they do is a manipulation. It has to do with control. They use love bombing as a way to get you started, conditioning you. So what they're doing is conditioning you from the beginning to get you into their web, to get you into their lair. They use charm, they use their charisma, they use their personality. They have learned early on to mirror you. And I've heard many people actually say they kind of fell in love with themselves, which is sort of true in a way, because they kind of are very, very adept at seeing what it is that you want to see. That's one thing they're very, very good at. They read people in an excellent way. It's a survival skill for them that they've learned from the beginning. From the time that they were very, very young, they knew that they had to start to read people in order to be able to get what they want, in order to survive. Narcissists are people that had, probably a fair amount of trauma in their childhoods, or their needs weren't met in some way. And so in order to get their needs met, they had to learn how to read people. The first thing is narcissistic love bombing has nothing to do with love. It has everything to do with, charming people in order to condition them so that they can start to get what they want. It's a deposit that they're making so that they can start making withdrawals in order to get what they want. And they do this so that they can get to phase two as quickly as possible, which is the withdrawal phase. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter if it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, which is number two little known fact. The number two little known fact is that they use this in all relationships, not just romantic ones. So, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, they will use this type of love bombing. Sometimes it's called the idealization phase, because it seems too perfect. Like, where has this person been all of my life? And I know, because I was in a business relationship with a covert narcissist who seemed absolutely perfect at the beginning. Where has this person been? Oh my gosh, they have all the perfect contacts. They say all the right things. They seem to have all the skill sets that you need for or whatever it is, so, and they want to immediately get into the next level, invest in the company, or get their names on things, or get to something where they want you to be committed as soon as possible, because they don't want to have to make deposits for very long. They want you to be the one who's giving them the value and not vice versa. Okay, so that's number two. Number three is love bombing is not just at the beginning of the relationship. They'll use it at many different times during the relationship. They start to devalue you, which is sort of the next part of the relationship. And then they will go back to using the love bombing when necessary. So, if they sense that you're going to be leaving and you're kind of done, tired of them manipulating you, ghosting you, this crazy hot and cold situation, then they will start to love bomb you again to get you back into pull you back in. They use it in many different situations. Sometimes it's called future faking. Sometimes it's called hoovering, or different terms. But they use love bombing, or this kind of charm that they have, to manipulate you in different ways. So it's something that they use to get what it is that they want. Okay, so it's used in many different times, different ways in the relationship, not just at the beginning of the relationship. Again, not just business, not just personal, and it has nothing to do with love. So, but it's not just at the beginning of the relationship either. Number 4, as I mentioned, they use love bombing to manipulate. It is a tool that is used in order to get what it is that they want. So, for example, if they're supposed to accomplish a task, for example, they were supposed to do something for the business, a business plan. Oh, yes, I'm going to do it. It's not done. And, months go by, it hasn't been accomplished. And then you're finally like, you know what, this business partnership is not working out. I'm tired of asking you over and over again to accomplish these various tasks, including write this business plan. You haven't done it. I've been doing all the work here. I think since I'm doing all the work, I might as well just be on my own. Well, then all of a sudden they'll come back and say, oh, you know what? I will do everything that you ask. I will get the plan done. Look at me. I promise that you'll see in the future it'll be different. And then suddenly they start to do the work. They start to do the things. Look how amazing you are. They'll start to tell you how incredible you are, how incredible you guys are together. They'll say all the things they need to say, or they'll go back to being the charming, incredible person that you remember at the beginning. So they use love bombing to manipulate you. I would love to know the types of things that you guys have seen, the types of phrases that you guys have seen as far as love bombing. Go ahead and put those in the comments. You're perfect for me. We're soulmates. You sweep me off my feet. I've never met anybody like you. You guys have seen things like that. Go ahead and put those in the comments, because that's the kind of thing that they say when they're love bombing, right? That's the thing, you'll see when you see love bombing. Number 5 is, I want you to know that love bombing is a deposit. It's a deposit. They expect repayment for it, and quickly. And get used to it. It's almost like a loan shark. They want interest, and they want massive amount back. They want more back than they put into it, like way more. They might have put in like this much. They want this much back in return, and what they want overall is control. They want control over you, and they want your undivided attention and undivided loyalty. If they smell at all that you are not 100% loyal in any way, or any slight of any kind, then there's going to be hell to pay. Because for narcissists, you're either for them or against them. And if you're against them, then you are public enemy number 1.
So hoovering is actually a form of love bombing that takes place during one of the other phases. So it's usually the discard phase. And during this discard phase, where the narcissist might feel that they're losing control. So remember, love bombing is a form of controlling the victim. It's a form of getting that person into their web of control. I always say their layer of control, into their web. And so that it's a form of manipulation so that they can control you. And if they feel that sense of that grip loosening, that their grip of control is loosening because of the discard phase. Maybe you've hired a lawyer, maybe you've talked to other people, maybe they sense that you don't care that much about them anymore. That's when you start to see the hoovering start in. That's when they start to come back. They start love bombing you. They start saying things like, oh, come on, we've always been so good together, or we can work this out, or you don't need to worry about that. I'll always have your back, things like that. As a lawyer, what I see people doing a lot of times is they'll come in when the person's hired the lawyer and say, oh, you don't need that lawyer. We can work this out. We've always been so good at working things out. We've always been good at talking to each other, or something to that effect. But what hoovering is they are coming back and love bombing because they feel that their narcissistic supply source is being threatened in some way. And they get supply from controlling you. They get supply from jerking you around. They get supply from anything that feeds their ego. So does this relate to brothers and sisters too? Absolutely, it does. And I see Dee Dee here from Germany. Awesome. Hello in Germany. My mom is German. My dad is Chinese. So I love my German people and my German roots. Awesome. So, and yes, as Renee says, it can be anybody. So yeah, these apply to anyone. So hoovering happens when the narcissist senses that their control is loosening. And so they come back and they start to love bomb again to try to get that control back again. So they go back to the tool that they used in the beginning to get you into their lair to begin with. So, it might be that they're horrible to you, but then they turn around and say, oh, you're so beautiful, or, make you a smoothie or whatever. But behind your back, they're, stabbing you in the back, or they are smearing you, or they are. And so it can be very, very confusing when you're dealing with a narcissist, because on the one hand, they seem like they're horrible to you and they're doing all these horrible things to you, but then the things that are coming out of their mouth are not matching how they're behaving. But they know what to say. Narcissists are great at manipulating. They've spent thousands and thousands of hours honing their skills of manipulation. And they're especially good at knowing how to manipulate their targets or their victims. They've studied you. They know what your weaknesses are. They know what things they know what you want to hear. So they'll come back and say the things that they need to say in order to get you to come off of what it is that you are, that you're talking about, just to get you to stop. So they'll love bomb you just enough to get you back into that web of control. And a lot of times it's like just to get you off of whatever it is that you're thinking. Maybe you're accusing them of cheating. Maybe you're accusing, and so they'll deflect so that you're not looking at that anymore, and start love bombing you in that way as well. So let's see. So I say hi everyone. Hi Rebecca. All right. So, and remember that on Tuesdays, I do my Ask the Attorney Anything sessions, which I always have tons of great questions on that. So that's Tuesdays at noon. So I've committed to going live twice a week at noon Pacific time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Tuesdays, I do my Ask the Attorney Anything sessions, which I also do, by the way, in my 3 must-have secrets to communicating with a narcissist free webinar that I offer several times a week. And I know lots and lots of you have attended that, and I get to see a lot of you there as well. So there will be a sign up for that free webinar in the comments. in this video as well once we put it up on YouTube. So if you want to participate in that, come on over and join me in that. And that is also free. So, there's somebody saying that he wants to hurt you. Yeah, I mean, so the bottom line is they only use this hoovering technique to try to get you back into their web of control. It's not, they're not actually, it's so confusing because it's not actually to make you feel better, or it's not anything that has anything to do with you, because it never really does. When it comes to narcissists, it only has to do with them, and they use it as a tool of manipulation. So and I often see it with when in the discard phase, as the divorce is starting or something like that. But remember, with the narcissistic relationship, it's love bombing, devaluing, and discarding, but it's not love bomb, then devalue, then discard. It goes, it starts off with love bombing, but they can be love bombing as they're devaluing, love bombing as they're discarding. And that's what hoovering is. So that's the term of the day with hoovering. And, and all forms of narcissists do this, whether it's the covert narcissist or the grandiose narcissist, or the overt, overt as grandiose, or the malignant narcissist. They all use this tool of hoovering in order to get the person that they have targeted to not look at their bad behavior and only be back into being a form of supply for them, because that's what you serve for them, is giving them a source of narcissistic supply. Remember, supply is anything that feeds their ego. It could be normal things that feed people's egos, such as money and compliments and those sorts of things. But what narcissists need is an endless amount of other supply too, which is devaluing people and discarding people and debasing people, making people feel bad, jerking them around. So remember that when you're going to negotiate with a narcissist, you are not coming from the same place. You, reasonable person, are looking for a reasonable outcome. Narcissist person is looking to feed their ego. So if jerking you around helps to feed their ego, then they will continue to do that for as long as they need to. And that's why it's really, really hard to settle cases with narcissists. And that's why I created my slave program, which I know a lot of you have participated in as well.
Narcissists have a confession to make, and that is that they are way more afraid of you than you are of them, especially in court cases, mediation cases, or any kind of cases where you have to negotiate with them. But you know what? I have a confession to make too. I'm sick and tired of these people bullying you and making you feel exhausted and paying way too much in attorney's fees and dragging you through the mud. My name is Rebecca Zung, and I'm an attorney. I've been recognized by U.S. News as one of the best lawyers in America. And in fact, I was so sick and tired of these people bullying you that I started studying narcissism so that I could beat them in the courtroom. And now I'm here to make the case so that you can win too. I developed a 4-part proven blueprint that has helped tens of thousands of people take back their freedom, win, and get back their power. And now I'm sharing it with you in a special live event, Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-part proven plan to take back your power. 4 simple steps, 1 free live event, 1 free hour of your life. That's what stands between you being in hell and you being free. Join me, click the link for Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-step proven plan to take back your power. Just click the link and let's go. There's stuck in your brain, you feel stuck, you feel powerless against them. I know what it's like. I mean, I've seen it time and time again. When I was full on practicing, I did high net worth divorce. That was the only kind of law I actually ever practiced. And I practiced law for more than 20 years. So I've seen it. I've seen it both with men and with women. by the way. So I know a lot of people think it's just women who can't let go. It's not true. I saw men in very, very toxic relationships many, many times who couldn't let go either. Saw men who were being beat up by women who just literally couldn't let go, and all strata, rich, wealthy men who couldn't let go. So, for those of you guys out there who are feeling a lot of maybe shame or guilt or anger, resentment, sadness, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling powerless, you're not alone. It's not just women, although I know there's a lot of you women out there who are feeling that way too. And you're just feeling like, I just don't know how to get out of this. And there's a Kelly Clarkson song out there for those of you who may or may not have heard it. It's called Addicted. And every time I hear that song, I think of this, it's like, it goes something like, it's like you're a drug. It's like a demon I can't face down. It's like I'm stuck. It's like I'm running from you all the time. And I just think of that song sometimes, like, you just feel like you can't let go. And so why is that? So, first of all, they start off with this unbelievable love bombing. It's very different than a lot of relationships. I mean, a lot of relationships, you start off, maybe you're just friends and you have a nice relationship and maybe you start dating and maybe it's a nice dinner. It's very different than a narcissistic beginning. They come on very strong, lots and lots of attention, lavish attention, amazing. You're the most incredible human ever. You're the only person in the world, the most beautiful, the most handsome, they sweep you off your feet. It is intoxicating how they come on. It can be like a drug at the beginning. And they make you feel very, very special at the beginning. And so that love bombing is very intoxicating at the beginning. And so it is making you feel really incredible. And all of these hormones in your brain are firing, and the serotonin is being released, and the dopamine is being released, and all of these things are happening. And then the devaluing sets in. And just so you know, when that love bombing is happening, it's happening because they are grooming you. They're grooming you because they want you to be a good source of supply for them. And then that devaluing starts setting in, and it's super confusing because you think, what is going on here? And, there is a study by a psychologist named Robert Sapolsky who talks about how, in monkeys, when they get these rewards, they get rewarded all the time. Nothing happens in their brain. And then when these monkeys get rewarded intermittently, like variably, and they don't know when they're going to get this reward, just the anticipation that they're going to get this reward causes the dopamine levels in their brain to rise to the level of cocaine. And that's what happens, like you think, okay, am I going to get this love bomb again? Am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? And that's what happens with narcissists. You almost become physiologically addicted to them, because then it's back to the love bombing. And it's like after they devalue you and they're super hurtful, then they come back and they start love bombing again to get you off of the fact that they may have ghosted you or devalued you or lied to you or caught them. And, they start the future faking, projection and deflection, and they do all of these things. Just know that the love bombing that they do in the beginning, things that they're saying, the things that they're doing, as hard as it may sound, it doesn't actually have anything to do with you. I know it's pretty harsh to even say, but it's really just them grooming you to be a good source of supply for them, because they want you to start to adulate them and become a good source of supply for them. It's really a deposit, because they want to start taking withdrawals from that bank account that they're depositing into. And then what happens is, a lot of times, you've now built your life around this person. And I think of that Stevie Nicks song, Landslide, I'm afraid of changing because I've built my life around you. And that relationship becomes your identity. And sometimes financially you're tied to this person. There's this whole thing with the limbic system, and there's other things going on physiologically that make you think that you can't leave this person, that survival is telling you that if you leave this person that everything will be bad. And there's triggers that cause you to crave them. There's a lot of other things going on. But here's the great thing about the brain. The brain is actually something that can be retrained. There's a lot that we've learned about the brain, and I've had the pleasure of getting to spend some personal time with Jim Quick and some of the other brain experts in the world. And we know a lot more about the neuroplasticity of the brain than we've known for thousands of years. And we've learned more in the last 10 years about the brain than we've known ever. And the brain is actually extremely retrainable. And the brain is actually just a supercomputer that can be retrained. And you can actually retrain your brain to be retaught that you don't need this person. And I've helped thousands of people through my programs and through the things that I teach to get on the other side of these narcissists. And that's why I have like my Narc Slayer Club membership, where I have a support group, and I have Danielle, who's part of my Narc Slayer Club, who has a background in mental health, and through her support groups, we help people get on the other side of these things by retraining the brain. And you can do this. You can retrain your brain. And so I want you to put in the comments right now, I can do this. Because by starting to say things like that, you're actually starting to send a message to your brain that you can do this. So I want you to put that in the comments right now. I can do this, because you can. You're going to start to send a message to your brain that you can. You're telling a different story. And then that's what you're going to do. And that's what you are doing now. And by watching these videos, you're already starting to send a different message to your brain as well. So give yourself a pat on the back for doing that, for just being here, for just starting to recognize what's going on. Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life, then they turned out to be your worst nightmare, and then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell? Well, I developed something called the SLAY method of negotiating with narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I will show you how. So tell us what your definition is of love bombing.
My definition of love bombing is when you meet someone and from the beginning they inundate you with lovely, I love you messages. You're the best thing since sliced bread. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. They text you all the time. They call you all the time. They FaceTime you. They spend a lot of time with you. They buy extravagant gifts for you. They do extravagant gestures for you. And it's like a dream come true. You think it's the best thing ever, but it's all a lie, because you'll find out later on when they go through the other processes that narcissists do that it wasn't genuine. It was all a means to their madness to try to control you.
And usually it's pretty quick that you find that out.
Yes,
so tell us about that.
It's very quick that you find that out, because maybe we were talking a month, and like in the first 2 weeks, everything moved very, very fast. And then that person wanted to come visit me at my house during the pandemic. I let him come here. And then immediately when he left, things changed. It was like night and day. He wasn't calling me as much. He wasn't texting me as much. He wasn't telling me these wonderful things anymore. It was like immediately things changed, and it started the devalue and the discard process of what narcissists do.
Okay, so tell us about devalue and discard. Let's go to devalue next.
Yeah, so with my set narcissists and all narcissists, because birds of a feather flock together, they all do the same thing. With the devalue process, everything that I did wasn't good enough anymore, or I was becoming worrisome, or I was calling too much, or I was needy. Whereas I just talked to you last week all day for 7 hours, but now you don't have time for me, or you're working all the time. Whereas before you had all the time in the world to call me. You call me all day, all night. We would be on the phone all day, all night, but everything changed now. So I wasn't good enough. I don't really think he would say that I would have issues, that I had unresolved issues like with my parents, and just tried to downplay me or make me think that I wasn't good enough all of a sudden, where before I was his princess, his queen, and saying, different terms of endearment like that. And it immediately changed.
Right. And then how is it that narcissists get people to then stay in their world, because they devalue right away and all of a sudden you're needy, they're lying, they're ghosting you, they're not showing up. Why wouldn't people just immediately go, I don't need this? How do people get that? How do narcissists get people to stay there?
How do they get, well, for me, and just in general, in that love bombing stage, that is very addicting. It's like it's synonymous to you being addicted to crack or addicted to heroin, where you're on a drug, you're in a euphoric feeling, so you always want to feel that feeling. And as soon as say something, because that happened when I was going through the devalue stage, in the discard stage, where I saw something wasn't right and things weren't adding up. It seemed like he was bipolar, or he had like some personality issues. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew something was wrong. And me and him got into like a really, really bad argument. And he was yelling at me at the top of his lungs. He was just really acting like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And I said, this is too much for me. I wish you nothing but the best. God bless you. Good luck. And at that time, I'm like, I'm about to move on because something is wrong here. And that's immediately that night, he started to gaslight me and love bomb me again. And so, because you already have that initial euphoric love bombing period where you're already bonded with this person or trauma bonded with them, when they're saying these things again, because you're a natural empath and you're believing what they're saying to you because you tell the truth, you would think someone else would tell the truth. So you get sucked back into it. And then it starts over and over again, and they keep it going. So, like, I remember vividly being on the phone, like, am I in the Twilight Zone? Why is this person saying all these things to me? And now he's calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, oh, you're going to leave me? You're going to make me get another woman? I thought you said you love me. I thought you said you want to spend the rest of them. You just called me everything but a child of God 3 hours ago, sir. What is going on here? And so I didn't know anything about narcissism. I didn't know this is what people do. So I didn't know.
Right. They know how to manipulate you. They know exactly what to say. Right.
Yes.
And they future fake you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they say exactly what they know you want to hear.
Absolutely.
So that you'll stay.
Absolutely.
And it's
it
this
worked.
rubber band thing that they push you to the edge and then they snap you back in. Right?
Yes. And this happened to me at least 30 times, where we would get in an argument or I would try to leave him alone. And I still didn't know he was a narcissist, still didn't know. And he, like you just said, the pushing and the pulling and the devaluing and the discarding and then the gaslighting, it was total BS the whole time. It's like, if you say you want to do something, if you want to be with me, then be with me. the next stage that happened was he was
And
coming.
I wanted you to explain that, because I want people to understand, people who aren't in relationships with narcissists, to understand, well, why don't people just leave? If they're treating you badly,
Yeah.
why don't you just leave? And because a lot of people, I think that. And I want you to explain, it's just so not that easy. And and I think it's really important that you explain why it's not so easy to just go, yeah, I'm just going to be out of here, you know?
It's not easy, because I would talk to my mother about it, and she wouldn't understand. Just why can't you just let it go? Why can't you just leave him alone? And you if it was a regular relationship, that's exactly what would that's what you would do in a regular relationship. But this is not a regular relationship. This is something that I feel is very demonic, very toxic. And anytime you try to leave, their sole mission is to control you, to use you for their narcissistic supply, because they're empty and soulless on the inside. So they don't want you to leave because they're sucking all your goodness away from you. Okay. And every time you have an interaction with them, they're pulling that energy, they're pulling your vibe, they're pulling all of your inner goodness, and they're using that to fill themselves up. So that's one thing. Another thing is that anytime you try to leave them and you try to move on down the road, they're going to do many different tactics to pull you back in and to grab you back in, just so they can have you under their thumb. It's the sickest thing I've ever encountered, because I literally can tell you, I'm like, why won't this person just leave me alone? And then they would have other people that they're talking to, that they're dating. He had a whole girlfriend I didn't even know anything about. And then he would have several other people that he's talking to at the same time. So why are you bothering me? Leave me alone. I've said, leave me alone. I want to go on with my life. Every time I try to go on with my life, he's pulling me back in. I love you. Don't leave me. All of this. And every time, for at least the first 10 times, you want to believe it, because you really, from the love bombing stage, you really are in love with this person.
Mm-hmm. And you want to believe somehow on some level that maybe they do love you. Maybe they do think that you're special, that, you do have something that's real.
Yes. Well, you think it's real. I thought it was real. I thought, I was the Bonnie to his Clyde, because he was artistic. He was into artistic endeavors. And I was an actress. I was going to be his muse. I just thought he was like the best thing ever. And I really thought that this was my guy. This was my man. Would be my potential soulmate. But it was all a lie. It was all a lie. And it, as the process kept going on and on and on, and into a year later, and he's still doing the same things, it's like enough is enough. You start writing about it, you start researching, you start finding wonderful people like yourselves, like you, on Instagram and on Facebook, where you see, okay, I'm not crazy. This is a thing. This is real. This person is systematically trying to manipulate me and trying to take control of me, and is literally playing me to the left. And once you realize that and you see everything that's going on, you're like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm just going to have to figure out a way to heal from this and move on.
Yeah. And what was that moment for you?
I knew when we were on one of the app, we were on the apps, and he was trying to embarrass me, having his flying monkeys, and those are terms for people that are advocates for the narcissist, to take up for them, that believe everything that they say, and they attack you in the process because they're trying to defend the narcissist. When he sent his flying monkeys out to me, I knew that something was wrong. Why would this person try to embarrass me? Why would this person try to harm me when I'm just trying to go on my way? I think the worst thing that you can do to a narcissist is expose them. And from the beginning, once I saw that first I called him a love bomber because that was the first term that I found. But as I saw that he was a narcissist, I was really working hard to say, hey, this person isn't right. Okay. But at the same time, he was starting a whole smear campaign against me, saying that I was crazy, that I was psycho, that I was stalking him, and all of these lies, where people would literally believe him until I started recording the conversations that we would have. And I started doing that because no one would believe the things that I'm saying because they're believing him. They're not believing me. They think I'm a stalker. They think I'm crazy, and I'm not. And it just, enough became enough. I started journaling because I literally thought I was losing my mind. And my friend, I would talk to a small amount of friends because people wouldn't believe me and they didn't understand what was going on. So you couldn't really talk to a lot of people about what was going on because people would get frustrated. A couple of people stopped talking to me because they said that talking about this was triggering for them or it was too negative. And so there was a small amount of friends that I could talk to. And one of them told me, like, Mara, you should just write this down. And it sounds like you're in a whole like telenovela of a soap opera. This could be a movie.
Yeah,
This
exactly. I
you
mean,
know,
that's what it's like living with them.
that's what it's like. And Rebecca, what's really interesting is that the relationship that I had with this narcissist was only 2 months long, but it felt like it was 2.5 years long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was in a business partnership with a narcissist. And when I realized that from beginning to end, it was only 1 year,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it because it felt like 10.
10 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so how did you get out of it then?
Truthfully, to this day, he still contacts me. I blocked him. I actually have to go to court against my narcissist because it's just a big deal for me to advocate for myself because he owes me a substantial amount of money. And I had to prove to myself that you can't do this to people, that there are consequences and repercussions. So I'm going to take you to the highest extent of the law. Have I tried to rectify the situation or, have a compromise? Yes. But he called me out my name and told me to take him to court. Okay. Just unfortunately, it's taken 2 years for that court case to come around in New York City. So,
well,
so
that's what
yeah.
happens, right?
Yes.
Americans spend up to 90% of their time indoors and take 20,000 breaths a day. Yet, according to the EPA, indoor air is actually more polluted than outdoor air. And in fact, 100 times more polluted than outdoor air. In fact, it's responsible for up to 7 million premature deaths annually. And I know for us, we have had issues with asthma. My daughter has struggled with asthma. And that's why we're so excited to find Air Doctor. Air Doctor has captured the attention of huge media outlets such as CNN, Money, ABC, and more. And it filters out 99.9% of dangerous contaminants and allergens such as pollen, pet dander, dust mites, and mold, and even bacteria and viruses. So your lungs don't have to do all of that extra work. So right now, Air Doctor also comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't love it, you just send it back for a refund minus shipping. So head to airdoctorpro.com and use the promo code Your Best Life. And depending on the model, you receive up to 39% off and up to $300 off. Exclusive to podcast customers, you'll also receive a 3-year warranty on any unit, which is an additional $84 value. Lock in this special offer by going to AIRDOCTORPRO.com and use the promo code Your Best Life. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, the way you got into that relationship with that narcissist, the way it all began, this whole thing all began with love bombing, because that's where narcissists start. They start off with love bombing. So remember that narcissists are the most shallow people you could possibly ever meet. They have no inner sense of value. All of their value has to be derived from the external. And how they do that is through what we call narcissistic supply. That's their lifeblood, that's their food, that's their oxygen. It's narcissistic supply. So supply can be in the form of money, prestige, compliments, but it also comes in the form of control, coercive control, psychological abuse, victimization, and just going after people in a way that they get them under their layer of control. Because by asserting control over people and exerting that control over people, they feel better about themselves. They feel like they are controlling the world around them and getting everybody to see that they're so amazing and so wonderful. Because if they see that side of them, then they'll never see what's really going on underneath, which is that they are the most scared little people, the most fragile egos on the planet. That's actually the secret. The secret is that you're stronger than they are by a lot. And they don't want you to know that, though. So, but how it all begins, how the whole fairy tale begins, is through what we call love bombing. And then they graduate into starting with the discarding and the devaluing. Well, just devaluing, then discarding. But really, these three stages of a narcissistic relationship happen all at once in a lot of ways. It's not linear. It's not like they go from love bombing, stop, discarding, stop, and then devaluing, stop, and then discarding, stop. It doesn't happen that way. It's actually much more mixed together that way. They can actually be discarding you and love bombing you at the same time, and sometimes that's called hoovering, but that's what they do. They use love bombing as a method, as a strategy to manipulate you. So remember that narcissists are master manipulators. You know that whole thing about 10,000 hours to become experts at something? Well, they've spent their entire lifetimes. They have way more than 10,000 hours in learning how to manipulate you. So the manipulation starts in the love bombing phase. So in the love bombing phase, this is where you're going to start to see that they're going to overwhelm the person, overwhelm them with how perfect they are. So in a business setting, this love bombing might take place in the form or manifests itself in the form of, being the perfect business partner, but this person can get you the deals that you want, introduce you to the clients that you want, has the skill set that you want, open the doors that you want to open. Everything about them just seems absolutely amazing. Okay? In a romantic setting, they come on super strong. A really great example of this is the Dirty John series, and if any of you haven't seen that, you should check it out. It's a mini series actually on Netflix. It's actually also a podcast, which was super popular, but the guy in that went after this woman who was a very successful woman in her 50s who had lots of success as a professional. She also had beautiful children that she had a wonderful relationship with and a close family. But the one thing that was missing in her life was this perfect romantic partner. So this guy comes along and sets himself up to be as absolutely perfect for her as possible. And so what did he do for her? He did everything a busy professional woman who's on her own would love to have. He was taking care of her dry cleaning and cooking her dinner and making her smoothies in the morning and taking her on trips and just becoming like the most perfect person ever. And so that's what they do. But what they do is they move super fast. So the relationship is on this fast track. right away, within weeks, they're talking about marriage or moving in together, or what the future is going to be forever. And they insist right away on meeting your children, if you have children from another relationship, or meeting your family, or meeting your friends. They want to be fully moved in and fully in control of you as fast as possible before you have a chance to figure out who this person really is. Because once they've got you under that layer of control, that's when they can start to take over and start to actually move into more of the devalue phase. What you'll see in this phase is like massive amounts of compliments and lavishing you with gifts and bombarding you with text messages and phone calls. And you'll start to see where they want to know everything about you. They want to know where you are at all times, and how come you didn't call them back right away, and who are you talking to? Right away you start to see these little signs of things that aren't necessarily right. In the Dirty John movie, the man actually laid down on the woman's bed, in her bedroom after their first date, and almost refused to leave, and she saw that as a red flag, but she kind of ended up ignoring it because of all these other things. I mean, they just overwhelm you with love bombing. As part of this, they want that commitment right away. They want to see right away that you're, not seeing anybody else, that you are giving them your undivided attention. Right away, early on, you're going to start to see where there's going to be some jealousy, that you're giving attention to other people. Well, if you really love me, if we were soulmates, that you would just give me all of your attention. And so you start to feel guilty if you're giving attention to somebody else, but you're really feeling like, well, but this person really needs me. They're extremely needy. And they may even present themselves to you as partially victimized, like they just need you so much because of this, they had a terrible family, or maybe their ex-spouse treated them awfully, or maybe, their kids were alienated from them. So they just really, really need you, and they need you now, and they need all of your attention right away. So these are the kinds of things that you see in the love bombing phase. And you do see these red flags start to crop up, where they start to, like, right away in your space, and right away jealous that you're doing other things, right away demanding to know everything that you're up to, right away wanting to start controlling aspects of your life, right away maybe actually even distancing you from your friends or your family or your loved ones, because you should be spending time with each other, and that person is just jealous of the time that we're spending together, and jealous that you finally found somebody that's perfect for you, jealous that you finally found a soulmate. So that's the kind of thing that you'll see, but they couch it in these terms that make it seem like it's okay that they're moving in so quickly because you're soulmates and you're meant to be together. Making that transition between summer and fall is always a crazy thing. And that's why I love having a leather jacket, like my gorgeous one from Quince. And they have timeless and high quality items, which I love. And they don't blow my budget, which I also love. They have cashmere sweaters and washable silk tops. And everything is like 50 to 80% less than other brands, which I also love. They cut out the middleman. They pass the savings on to us, which is also amazing. It's safe and ethical, which I also love. I really love my brown leather jacket from them. It's super stylish and it's high quality. Just love that. So make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/negotiate for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/negotiate to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/negotiate. Let's talk about love bombs and truth bombs. So when you're getting love bombed, that means what happens at the beginning of a relationship where, there's this outpouring of devotion, especially early in a relationship, or after a relationship conflict or something like that has happened. It can be the start of something, what feels like something wonderful, right? And what could be wrong with your partner laying it on so thick, right? I mean, isn't that part of a great relationship? So love bombing refers to these loving words, these actions and behaviors, but the problem is that they're being used as a manipulation, and they offer this attention and this loving and affection in an attempt to influence another person. And that's what love bombing is. So a narcissist love bombs in order to gain your trust. But once the bombing raid has ended, the affectionate behavior starts to dry up. So the love bomber at that point might become irritable. They start to dominate you. They start to not have boundaries. They might even start ghosting you. And if you want to know more about ghosting, you should definitely check out my video on silent treatment versus ghosting versus going no contact, because I give a whole primer on what the difference is between those things. But, love bombing is something that happens because they want they want control over you. So with love bombing, they sometimes use it after the relationship starts as a methodology to get you to not see their poor behavior so that they could be excused from something, because they don't want to have to take responsibility for something. So they use love bombing sometimes in that way too. It's not constant, and it's really a manipulation. And when it's on, and it's great. But when it ends, it's awful. It's way worse. So they don't even necessarily believe their own professions of devotion and commitment and all of that. Their sincerity does not determine whether love bombing is taking place or not. Love bombing describes an imbalanced relationship. It's one in which the one person is the recipient of the love bombing, and the other person is, actually just trying to manipulate the other person. It's not an equal partnership where you're both invested, you're both expressing love, it's a give and take, and it's meaningful, and there's a real connection. That's not what's going on here. So a lot of times it feels like pressure, especially at the beginning of the relationship where they're trying to fast track it. And they might be pressuring at the beginning for exclusive dating or for moving in together or sexual stuff or whatever, but they're trying to fast track that relationship in the beginning. So, and I actually have a whole video on love bombing as well, so you should definitely check out my video on love bombing. Okay, so when you want to respond to those love bombs, then what? What do? So the response is what we call a truth bomb. And a truth bomb is a fact spoken in a clear, easy to understand manner, without bias, without emotion. It's a piece of knowledge that when told to the listener, who happens to be the narcissist in this case, it's devastating to their argument and their view. So here are 7 truth bombs that are in response to love bombs. So, for example, if they say, I will never disappoint you again, I promise from now on, everything will be different. Your truth bomb is going to be, that sounds too good to be true. That's, you're basically just saying, listen, that's a little too much. Nobody can be perfect. Nobody can respond with, I'll never do this ever again. Right? So you're saying it matter-of-factly, without emotion, without like smugness. Don't be sneering, because they'll definitely respond in anger to that. Just say, that sounds too good to be true. Okay? So the second one is, they say, you're so special to me. You know I didn't mean what I said. I wasn't myself. I won't take it out on you again. So then the truth bomb to that is, I've heard that promise before. Okay? So if you are so sick of being love bombed and you are so ready to just truth bomb from now on, give me a truth bomb in the comments. All right, so the next one is when the love bomber, when faced with the latest incident of not keeping his or her word, they'll say, it wasn't my fault because blank, whatever the excuse is. You can rely on me. I'll never let you down again. That's a future fake, by the way. So what you would say is, that is a promise that is impossible to keep, right? So the next one is when they're caught in a lie. So they'll say, I will never do that again. So what you want to say is, I will believe you when I see how you act. In other words, they don't necessarily always do what they say that they're going to do. So, I'm looking forward to seeing you act in that way. Thank you. Okay, so then the next one is when they avoid taking responsibility for a problem. They might say, you mean everything to me. We're soulmates. Remember, I don't even know what I would do without you in my life. I need you. You just want to respond and say, that's really great, and I'm glad that you feel that way, and I look forward to seeing you do the things that you're supposed to do. Like, just bring it back to them. So another love bomb that you might get is, somebody who just like is constantly absent all the time. I'll let you know before I go anywhere. You will always know exactly where I am. And, just say something like, okay, I look forward to you doing that. And thank you for saying what you're saying. And, maybe even offer to have them put their money where their mouth is and say, all right, how about you allow me to have access to your location on your phone or something like that. See what they say about that. Okay? And another one is if they treat you with irritability or disdain, and they might say something like, oh, you look so beautiful, you look so handsome, how did I get to be so lucky? Like, they're just trying to get you away from what it was that you're trying to hold them responsibility for. Just say, I acknowledge what you're saying and thank you for what you're saying. However, it takes away from the point of what it is that I'm trying to make. And you're making me feel like the things that I'm saying you're trying to make it like they didn't happen or they're not important. Did you mean for me to feel that way? Was that your intent? And it kind of like calls it back on them, because of course they're going to have to say, no, that's not what I meant. So these are just a few ways that you can come back. Just remember, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts, sir. Never explain, justify, or overshare. Just, respond to what it is that they are saying. What if you could just take a shot and lose all the weight you wanted to? I know for me, a few years ago, I was dealing with thyroid issues, menopause issues, autoimmune issues, all the things, and I gained a bunch of weight and I lost it all, but it took forever. And I wish that something like Robody had been around back then to help me lose the weight. But now you get the benefit of it because Robody is now around to help you lose weight. It's just one shot a week. And combined with a healthy lifestyle, you can lose 15 to 20% of your weight in a year on average and actually keep it off. They've helped more than 200,000 people so far, and they help you even with support, with getting the medication through your insurance and everything that you need so that you can actually lose the weight. That means that it's such a great opportunity for you now. So average weight loss is 15 to 20% in a year with a healthy lifestyle change, and BMI and other eligibility criteria apply. Go to ro.co/Rebecca. Sign up today and you'll pay just $99 a month for your first month and $145 a month after that. And medication costs are separate. That's ro.co/Rebecca. All right, 7 mind games played by narcissists. Watch all the way to the end so that you can get all 7. Number 1, all narcissists do this. Covert, malignant, grandiose, whatever kind of narcissist it is, you know it, gaslighting. They love this one. They love it. It's their favorite. One of the most common types of games played by the narcissist is gaslighting, named for the movie or play from the 30s called Gaslight. In that movie, the husband was trying to make the wife think that she was crazy. And so he was blowing out gaslights, and she would go, "Wasn't that just lit?" And he'd go, no, it wasn't. Trying to make her mind play tricks on her. And that's what gaslighting is. It's a form of psychological manipulation in which the narcissist attempts to make their target or their victim, or whatever word you want to use, think that they're going insane. You didn't hear what you heard. You didn't see what you saw. The conversation that you thought you had, you didn't have. The thing you think you're seeing, you're not seeing. That's what they do. They're trying to make you question your own memories, your own perception of reality, your own sanity at the end of the day. And honestly, when this is happening to you over and over and over again by somebody you are supposed to be able to trust, maybe even love, by somebody who comes at you with authority, a lot of times, you do start to question yourself a lot of times. And a lot of times they tie it just enough to reality, just enough to certain events that you start to wonder, wait a minute, am I thinking, wait a minute. You do start to wonder if you're imagining things, and you do start to wonder if you're going crazy. And so that's number 1 is gaslighting. And so you have to start documenting things. You have to start writing things down, start journaling things, and start pushing back and start going, no, that's not how it happened. That is not what was said. That is not the way the events took place. All right. That's number 1 is gaslighting. If you heard it with your ears, if you saw it with your eyes, then that's the way it happened. Trust yourself, trust your gut. Number 2 is playing the victim. They like to turn things around so that they become the victim, especially if they are under attack for their own behavior. They like to make a lot of noise so that it makes it look like they're the ones who's the victim and you're the one who is the problem. You're the one, or somebody else is, so that they don't have to be culpable. They don't have to take responsibility then for their own behavior. And that way, somebody else is the one that's causing all of the problems. And they even try to make other people feel guilty. And a lot of times it works. And they can even get marriage counselors to believe that the other person is the problem, third parties, flying monkeys, all kinds of people to believe that other people are the problem. File false allegations, use the court system, get the judges to believe, get the mediators to believe. They can play the victim to all sorts of people. They really can make it seem like somehow they are the victim in the relationship. If the other person doesn't somehow change their behavior in some way or do something, that they're being treated poorly, that they're being treated unfairly. And it can happen very easily because, of course, narcissists are extremely easily slighted. I mean, the wind blows the wrong way and they're easily slighted. You can not even slight them. You can say nothing about them. It can be a conversation that's being had over here. It doesn't even have anything to do with them. And suddenly it's about them. And now they're the victim. They can really cause a lot of trouble in this particular game where they're being the victim. The whole "it's not fair" thing. They're very good at the "it's not fair" thing and being the victim. So that's number 2. Number 3 is love bombing. It's another big mind game that they play. And this is a very misleading word because there is no love involved in love bombing. It's all about manipulation. It's all about getting you to love them, but there's no love happening in the other direction. It's all about getting you to be charmed, to think that there's something special. They make you believe that they think that you're special, that you're incredible, and that you're the most amazing human being that ever walked the planet, even though they don't think anything of you other than what are you going to eventually be able to do for them? How are you going to be able to make them look? Are you going to be able to give them adulation? Are you going to be able to service them in some way? What are you going to give them? Because they want to give you as little as possible. They want to create a sense of dependency on them, just in the sense of they don't want you to have to go outside the relationship for anything else. I mean, they want you to get all of your relationship, needs met in that relationship, except that oddly, they don't want to have to give you anything in that relationship. You're supposed to not go outside the relationship for anything, but you won't get anything from them either. So you just won't get any relationship needs met at all. You're just supposed to serve them. And then they're just going to get withdrawals from you. So at the end of the day, you get nothing from anybody. And then you're just supposed to serve them. So, and they'll just treat you however they want to treat you. They'll give you as little as possible. They'll be back and forth. And then, if they give you anything at all, then you're supposed to think that they're just amazing for doing that for you. I mean, if they give you coffee in the morning, then look at that. I brought you coffee. Look at this. Look how wonderful I am. That sort of thing. So love bombing at the beginning is what they do to shower affection upon you. And this is a business partnership too. They do the same thing if it's a business partnership as well, in order to gain your trust, in order to kind of groom you, condition you to get you into their world so that they can eventually withdraw that attention and affection and get that back from you. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4 is playing hot and cold. And in this game, this mind game played by the narcissist, they alternate between giving you that attention and affection and love, and then just abruptly shutting it off and ghosting you and not returning texts or not returning calls or not returning any sense of affection or whatever. And they do this to create that feeling of insecurity and anxiety in their victims, in their targets, to try to keep you guessing, to try to keep you feeling insecure, to keep you off balance, and make you feel confused and make you feel off guard and just to control you because it's sort of evil and maniacal and they kind of get off on it in a way as well. And they want you to come back and they want you to kind of beg and they want you to kind of feel like, oh, please, 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 and then when you do beg, they want to be able to rebuff you and they want to be able to say no and they want to be able to reject you, and they enjoy that whole process too, and then they enjoy the process of taking you back and giving you the affection again, and they like that, and they enjoy the drama of it too. Narcissists enjoy a dramatic relationship. They like all that craziness. They don't like just being even. So that's another mind game that they play, is this hot and cold. So that's number 4. Number 5 is triangulation. And that is, another name for that is flying monkeys and to third parties. And they try to line up people against you or for them in order to create this divide between you and other people and make you feel bullied. It's a form of bullying. It's to make you feel isolated. It's to make you feel like other people are against you or make you feel like they've got other people for you. And there's so many different ways that they can do this, to make you feel like other people are having more important conversations with them or more substantive conversations with them, or what are you talking about with this other person, or what are you telling this other person, make you feel like you can't trust other people, or make you feel like these other people are on their side or believing their lies, and making you feel like no one else is going to believe you. So why bother? Why bother trying to get anybody else to believe your side? All of these kinds of things. And so everyone else thinks this and no one else thinks that. Those are the kinds of things that they do. And it's to make you believe that you shouldn't bother to try to go up against them because it's going to be a waste of time. Again, it's a mind game. And a lot of times it's not nearly as bad as you think. And a lot of times the flying monkeys have no idea that they're being used as flying monkeys. By the way, they use judges in this way, counselors in this way, mediators in this way. And all I'm going to tell you is it ain't over till it's over. And I've seen what seems like a foregone conclusion not be a foregone conclusion. So don't think that it's a foregone conclusion unless the end is actually the end. So you never know. You never know. So that's that. The next one is discrediting. Again, it's a similar kind of thing as triangulation, but this one is even like a step further, where they play this mind game by actually spreading false allegations, by actually filing false pleadings with the court system, or actually putting things out there on social media, or saying things about the person to coworkers, really spreading things about the person, maybe true or not true, but really trying to discredit the person by saying things that maybe aren't favorable, maybe bringing something up about somebody's past, maybe saying things that might make other people question the person's abilities, question the person's intelligence. And it can be quite damaging at times, especially if it has to do with, their work or their parenting abilities, things like that. Just keep in mind that there are ways to combat that when it comes to work, when it comes to parenting. And again, I go back to my SLAY methodology: strategy, leverage, anticipate, focus on you. Make sure you're documenting, make sure you have a strong strategy, make sure you're using your leverage. Make sure that you are using every single possible tool that you have in your hands. There are always ways to get what I call the cream to rise to the top, because you can, and pivot that, So, step one, don't run. Step two, make a U turn. Step three, break free. And that's how you right that ship. And that's how you get things to turn around. And that's how you get things to pivot. Don't get things to shift. You don't get the dynamic to shift by running away completely. That is not how you get that dynamic to shift. Remember that narcissists are way more afraid of you than you are of them. You get that dynamic to shift by not running, by turning it all around. Okay, so do not take that bait. And I want you to put that in the comments right now. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait, because you can win. You can turn this around. I've helped many thousands of people do that. I can help you do the same. So don't take the bait. And if you haven't gotten the Crush My Negotiation Prep Worksheet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Get it at crushmydeal.com. And if you are struggling and you need help with therapy, I do have a partnership with BetterHelp, and you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. We do have a partnership with BetterHelp, and they do pay us commissions. It doesn't cost you any extra. We just wanted to have a partnership with somebody that we could put out there and say, hey, we're supported by this, this organization. We trust them, and we wanted to be able to have something to offer you. So make sure that you get the support that you need. And we also do have a private Facebook group, which is Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. So join my free private Facebook group if you want that extra support as well. All right, let's go to the last one. What is the last thing that narcissists do? What is the last mind game that is played by narcissists? This is the one that they all do, and that is triggering you. And this is part of my A in SLAY. Strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focus on you. Anticipate that they're going to try to trigger you at every turn, because they love that. So anticipate that and be 2 steps ahead of them. That's what I always say. Anything goes when it comes to getting a reaction out of you. They love it. A narcissist's ultimate goal is to control you. And so therefore, triggering you is a tactic they use to get you to lash out. Okay, that's what they want you to do, because number one, it gives them supply. Number two, they'll use your emotional reaction against you, right? And so remember that as long as they're getting that supply, they're never going to leave you alone, ever. So do not take that bait. As I said, don't allow that. Okay, don't take the bait. They will look for your weak points. They will look for ways. They will look for your Achilles heel. They will strike at it. They're like sharks with blood in the water. They're going to look for ways to strike you. So 7 mind games they play that they hope that you won't figure out. The first one is the silent treatment. So now, if you try to do this to them, of course, they go absolutely ballistic, especially during negotiations, right? They will show up. They literally will storm the gates. They do this to control you. And they do this, by the way, whether it's a romantic situation or a business partnership, because I was in a business partnership with a narcissist. Those of you who are out there dealing with a narcissist in a non-romantic situation, you know that this is true too. They use the silent treatment as a form of control. And what's really maddening is that they will blow up your phone. They will blow up your email. You know that thing is stuck to them like glue. You know that they never leave their phone anywhere. It's always right next to them, but yet they won't respond. They use it as a form of punishment and control. And it's incredibly painful. They use it as a way to make you feel isolated, to make you feel unloved, unworthy, undeserving, and to play with your mind. It's one of those games that they play that they hope you'll never figure out. So that's number one. Number two, of course, gaslighting. I mean, it's the mother of all the things that they do. It's a huge form of emotional abuse. I don't even have enough time in this video. I could sit here all day and go into all the forms of gaslighting that they go into. I mean, all the types of narcissists use this, malignant, grandiose. It doesn't matter the type of narcissist that we're talking about. They all use gaslighting as a form of emotional abuse. But really, what gaslighting is, in its purest form, it's a way of making you question your reality. That's what gaslighting is. It's basically saying what you think you're seeing with your eyes, what you think you heard with your ears, what you are experiencing with your senses doesn't exist. You're delusional. You're crazy. So they attempt to make you question your reality. So they deny things. They accuse you of things. They accuse you of false allegations. They manipulate situations so that you feel like you are losing your mind. They may deny things in text messages, deny things in emails. They deny things directly to your face. I mean, they were literally, you could show them something and they will directly say, no, that is not what it is that you are showing them. You can actually go, well, maybe I'm not seeing this correctly. Even if you are, I mean, they could say something's not blue, even if you're staring at something that's blue. And if you've been dealing with a narcissist long enough, you might go, maybe it's not blue. Maybe I'm seeing purple. Maybe it's actually red. I mean, you'll actually start to question your own reality, because that's how crazy you can start to feel. It starts to cause trauma on you physically. So gaslighting is a real thing. It's something that they all do, and it can really take its toll on you in a number of different ways. And as I said, I don't have enough time here to go into all of the different ways that they use gaslighting, but gaslighting is definitely one of the mind games that they use. Number three is projection. I call it projection and deflection, lying and denying, projection and deflection, but projection is definitely one of the things that they use. Oh my goodness. I had an employee, one of my paralegals who used to work for me, that was a master of projection. Boy, nothing was ever her fault. It was always somebody else's. It was always something else that was going on in her life. Someone else had to take the fall. Someone else had to take the blame for all the different things that went wrong. But it's a defense mechanism that narcissists use to cover up their inadequacies, their irresponsibilities, their wrongdoings. So they project their flaws, their shortcomings, their wrongdoings onto someone else. And most of the time, by the way, it's not the third party, it's you. It's good old fashioned you. It can be a form of gaslighting, by the way. So the next one is love bombing. This is one of the first types of mind games that narcissists will play. This is usually your intro to them, unless it's your family member, your parent, or something like that. If this is somebody that you met along the way, this is your intro to them, right? This is how you get to know them. This is, sometimes called the idealization phase. Oftentimes it's referred to as the love bomb. Even if it's not a romantic situation, it's still oftentimes referred to as the love bomb. But this is the phase where, you see the charming version, the charismatic version of that narcissist. And by the way, they whip this version back on out when they need to, when they think that you are onto them, might leave them. If they need to, this comes out with the future fake or whatever, the fabulous version, the perfect version, the one that makes you feel like you are the most special, incredible human being on the planet. They're really good at this version, but what they're doing is they're mirroring you, they're reading you, they're looking to see what it is that you want, and they're reflecting that back to you. So that's why that version seems so great, because that's what's really happening with that love bomb. So it's not really a real version. It's a totally fake version of a person that they ideally think that you want to see, and then they reflect that back to you. So the next one is triangulation. So this is often referred to as the flying monkeys. This is where they line up third parties. Covert narcissists are excellent at this. Excellent at this. And this is where they get their little friends, their little minions, to make it seem like that you are the only one who thinks a certain way, and everyone else thinks that, they're wonderful, and you are the only one that thinks that they're terrible or whatever. Don't think that there's some kind of healthy relationship going on with these third parties. There's not. It's probably a situation that's very similar to the situation that you have. Many times I used to think that the third parties, these flying monkeys, were in on it all the time. Many times they're not. They're just part of the narcissist manipulation, and they don't even realize it. One of the things that I kind of figured out when I was dealing with the narcissists in my life is stay away from all of them, because it's all bad energy. It's all a whole bunch of drama, trauma, and chaos that you don't need. And especially if the narcissist has them under their spell in some way, it definitely is not worth it. Especially because narcissists have this tendency to want to pit people against each other. You don't really want to be caught up in that whole situation. I would just stay out of the whole deal myself. I would say, wish them well, but over there. Okay. We are working our way through 7 mind games that narcissists play that they hope that you don't figure out. Next one is discarding people. Narcissists love to do the discard. And by the way, they discard and then they come. It's sort of like this spongy thing. They discard and then they snap you back in, because as soon as you discard, they don't actually want to discard, because if there's any supply to be had, they snap you back in, because they discard you and you go, well, I don't really want to be discarded. And you get over it. And it's like horrible, it's painful, and it's awful. And then you go, well, all right, let me live my life and I'll deal with it and whatever. And then here they come with their Hoover thing. You don't need it. So, but that's what they do. They discard and then they're like sticky fingers back in again. But they discard if there's nothing left, if there's no more useful purpose, if there's no more juice in that battery. It's super painful. And it can be super abrupt, and you can leave you feeling very hurt, very confused, very abandoned feeling, very isolated. And it's horrible because obviously, you've actually got feelings involved over here, but they don't have that same level of capacity to have those feelings. It can be awful. It's time to move on when you've dealt with that. And so I'm just going to say, put in the comments, move on, just move on. Don't look back, move on. We've worked our way through 6 of them. There's one more that I wanted to make sure that you got. This is the biggest one that I see narcissists do. And this is especially prominent in covert narcissists, who I think tend to be the worst ones in relationships, the worst ones, because these are the stealthiest types of narcissists. This is the type of narcissist that I had to deal with in 2 different instances where they targeted me, and it's extremely painful. It's extremely toxic. And that is they play the victim. The reason why this is extremely difficult is because the rest of the world may actually see this person as a victim. So this is very different than a grandiose narcissist where, the person is extremely strong, extremely boisterous and bragging, comes along and demands the best table in the restaurant or holds court wherever they go. And so people don't feel sorry for that person necessarily. If this is a covert narcissist or a person that's playing the victim, and people actually do see this person as a victim, and especially as a victim of you, and they're going around telling everybody how horrible you were to them, even if you did nothing to them, it's super frustrating at the very least, and can be very, very painful and hurtful and harmful at the worst. And narcissists are excellent at playing the victim card. They make people feel guilty, not just you feel guilty, but they make others around them feel guilty, or they make others around them think that you should feel guilty, or others around them feel sorry for them. And they use this to control people. Then they gain sympathy. There's a huge payoff. They'd rather have the sympathy seen as a victim and get this sympathy than have a relationship, a real relationship with people that they should be wanting to have a relationship with, because that payoff is so huge.